So, economic growth is increase in real GDP over time. Normally, economy's resources are not being used to fullest extent possible, and when there is an economic growth, the resources used increase. So, increase in AD means need of employing unemployed resources and moving the economy to full employment of resources. Economic growth comes about increasing the employment of the factors of production. So, in the graph at the right side, there's point A and the point B. So, it moves to point B when there's an economic growth because the national output rises, which means now there are more resources used to produce goods and services to the society and to people who live there. And the left one, at the beginning there was deflationary gap. So when there's a shift in AD, the national output increases and the deflationary gap is gone.
Okay, so now some positive consequences of economic growth. Economic growth leads to an increase in national output, which also leads to an increase in national income. So when we have that, when we have an increase in national income, also the demand for imports increases, and which makes the export and import business more competitive. Okay, and also this also affects the living standards, because imports, exports, and economic growth, they all make the living standards higher. And economic growth also leads to a development in technology, which also makes the living standards higher. And because of economic growth, we have greater tax revenues, which means that that the government has more money to spend on merit and public goods.
So in negative consequences, there are structural changes, so there might be a structural unemployment coming from the economic growth. So not everyone benefits from it. Then environment gets harmed by the economic growth, which means there are negative externalities of production. And when the national income rises, the household waste level increases too. So this is one problem coming with it. So increasing income may not mean always better living standards coming from the structural unemployment. And sacrificing leisure time and neglect of personal relations come out with economic growth.
Okay.
So that's all.